Good morning. I want to talk a little bit this morning about what most people call the comfort zone. And what I would like to do is get us to rename it, because it's not the comfort zone. It's not actually the comfort zone. It just feels comfortable at times, but it's not the comfort zone. It's the survival zone. And once you start realizing that, you start working with it differently, perhaps. So right now I'm driving, and parts of me are doing the driving subconsciously, right? When you first learn to drive, you're driving consciously. Everything everywhere is, your brain is kind of freaking out, especially when you go through like a big intersection or something like that. But once the brain gets used to it, it gets patterns, it gets scripts. It knows where the brake is. It knows where the clutch is, back when you used to drive standard. And it knows where the gas pedal is. And you don't really think about it. You just drive, right? And so there's that all subconscious part that has all of these scripts that it can call up in an instant. And you don't need the conscious overhead of thinking about it. You just do it. So when you think with a part of your brain called the prefrontal cortex. And we're getting to how this relates to the comfort zone or the survival zone in a moment. So the prefrontal cortex is what does logic, it does reasoning. It's where you get to think about things. And that mechanism that does the automatic stuff, the scripts that it runs, whether it's driving the car, or washing the dishes, or anything, walking, chewing gum at the same time, anything like that, all of those scripts are in the limbic system. And one of the tricks that the limbic system has is it can actually squeeze some blood vessels in the brain and slow down the blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. And when it does that, and it does that for a very specific reason, under specific conditions, and it does that to stop you from thinking. Now, those of you who are familiar with Google back a few years, there used to be a thing on there that when you search for something, it said, do you feel lucky? And it would just give you the first search result instantly. You didn't have to scroll through the page and look at anything. It just picked the first page and it would send you there. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that is quite literally how the limbic system works when it feels threatened, when it's outside of its safety zone, okay? And the only way you change what the safety zone is by stepping outside and letting it know that it can survive. So it will update itself. It will expand, providing you go through an experience and you survive it. Now, different experiences have different emotional connection, emotional trauma attached to them. So some things will trigger quite strongly. And when they do, that's when the limbic system does this thing with the brain. It says, shuts down your thinking. It says, just like Google, the first hit, it says, I have a script. We've done this before. We survived. This is what we're doing right now. And when you realize that, that script may or may not be appropriate, but the survival mechanism doesn't care. It says, I know we've survived before by doing this. This is what we're doing. We're not going to take time to think about it, because taking time could be problematic in and of itself. And for a lot of emergency situations, that's perfect. Because if you don't survive, nothing else matters, right? So it's good in that way. However, a lot of times we get all of these scripts that, it could be somebody sitting at the dinner table tapping their fork that triggers you, and then you go into a script. Any number of triggers. You see people have these quote unquote childish behaviors, or they quote unquote fly off the handle. That's just one of these scripts going into place, and they are literally not thinking because they're not capable of thinking at that point, because the limbic system somehow has attached that trigger to something that threatens their safety. So like I say, a lot of people call it the comfort zone because for most people it's uncomfortable to leave. However, I think that is a great disservice, because there are a lot of people that are stuck in a safety zone that is very uncomfortable. It's very unhealthy. And yet their survival seems more important than their comfort. So that's why, I'd really like it for us to rename this thing the survival zone. Anyway, that's my rant for this morning. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know, and anything else you want me to talk about. More than happy to do so. Love to hear from some of my followers, all 3 of them. I'm just kidding. I'm sure there's at least a few more. But anyway, yeah. So that's it. Have yourself a wonderful day, and try and stay in. Try and expand your survival zone. Test it little by little. Expand it little by little, and just open up more and more opportunities for you. And if that's a challenge, let me know, because maybe we can do something with the magic words about that. All right, take care.